Righto, so this is my Royal Enfield Himalayan, which I've now owned for about a year, and I've done about 4,200 kilometres, 4.3, and I have done a review of it before, but I just thought we're a bit further down the track, so I'd give a bit of an update on how it's going and what I think about it. It's obviously it's very good instrumentation. You've got your speedo, analog rev counter, fuel gauge, compass. So as it indicates there, it's pointing south that way, and the arrow always points to north. You got two trip counters, so I've done 169.3 k's today, but there's also, since I last filled up, I've done 40 kilometres, 119, average 34 kilometres an hour, so my total trip's 169.3, and I average 40 kilometres an hour, and since I last filled up I've done 119 k's. So it tells you all that, tells you the temperature, what ambient temperature, and then it tells you the time. It's up in the top left corner, and also a gear indicator as well. So it pretty much tells you everything you want to know. I've put a RAM mount on it for mounting the GoPro, which I think is a good addition. I've actually put some Hepco-Becker, the SIBO system. As you can see, the SIBO just in behind here, and that way the bag just drops on. It's a SIBO bag, and it just drops onto the SIBO and locks on, and then if you want to take them off, you just unlock it, and then they've got carry handles carried inside. You release the restraining strap between the two. And I've also added some trail packs, VA trail packs. They've got a new model out of trail pack now, which is slightly bigger, and they've got a waterproof liner, but I've still got the old ones, and they're great because I've got my hat in there if I stop somewhere, and I've got some windscreen cleaner for my visor, and paper towels. I've got some tools in the other one, and bits and pieces. You want to carry a link for your chain, some Allen keys or something, just a little set, anything like that. So that's about all so far that I've added. But I think it's a really good bike. I think one of the things that annoyed me the most when I first got it, it seemed odd, was the fact that when you started it up, you had to warm it up for 5 minutes on full choke, and it got quite hot, as you can imagine, after 5 minutes, because the engine was quite tight from new. I think in retrospect now that I don't have to do that. I can virtually turn the choke off straight away, so it's obviously bedded in and it's freed up. But I think the best thing to do would be to go up the road with the choke on for like 5 minutes, and rather than sitting in one place and the bike getting quite hot, at least you got air moving over the motor, and then just shut the choke off when you're on the move. You just push the button, and so I think that's the best way to deal with that. There's nothing wrong with the carb or the settings of the carb. It's just bedding in, it's just very tight. So once mine's 4,200, 4,300 k's, it's fine, it's good as gold now, and it's pretty much factory setting. So the fuel range is excellent. You should get over 400 k's out of the tank. It's a 15 litre tank, does really good miles per gallon, so it'll get you to most places. And the good thing is, at least you've got a fuel gauge, so you know how much fuel you've got left. So that is a great peace of mind. Obviously still fill up close to where you're going, if you're going off-road, your last filling station. And but yeah, generally speaking, I think it'll get you to most places. I've pretty much done a full day today. I'm at Lake Lyndon. I've actually come from the east coast of New Zealand going over to the west coast, so I've been around, done one side of Lake Coleridge and part of the other side where the hydro station is, and I went up the other side, Lake Evelyn and Lake Selfie, and carried on all the way till the road finished basically. And there is a way to get across. There is an access road that you can take which goes towards the Wilberforce River, but I was sort of run out of time today, so it was just an exploratory trip because I hadn't been this way before. But brilliant. I think handling is superb on the road and on the dirt. It'll give you a lot of confidence if you're not a good rider. It's very flexible, the engine. You can drop the revs right low, and it's very stable. All round the tyres are excellent, so they're good on the road, very good on the road. Even I've had them in wet conditions and they grip really well, and they're very good in gravel and shingle. Obviously when you get into thick gravel, anything's going to struggle a wee bit, but no, handles conditions really well, even where there's no roads. We went beyond Lake Taylor, and it became a four-wheel drive track, and that was tracks, basically four-wheel drive tracks. Another trip we crossed quite a deep river through Lees Valley, through the Akuku Valley. Went straight through, no problem at all. Very comfortable standing on the pegs. Some situations you may want to stand on the pegs for better control, and you can see where you're going, get a better eye for where you're going. I've done 2 oil changes myself. It's had a factory oil change at the shop, and it'll get another oil change at the shop coming up at 5,000 k's. Other than that, it's easy to service. It's just 3 bolts on here for your oil filter. There's one drain bung underneath on the other side here. There's your drain bung. So you're best to do it when it's hot. You get all the rubbish out of it. When it's virtually drained out, just put a funnel under it, because otherwise it'll creep under your sump pan. So I think that's about a 21 or a 22mm socket, and then these 3 are a 5/16. One bolt's longer than the other. I think it's this one here. It might be that one actually, the bottom one. And then there's a gasket and there's a rubber O-ring, so normally you would replace both. And there's a copper gasket on the sump bung, and then you've got your little oil filter. It's only a short filter, and then it should be filled up to the mark like it is on here at the moment. It's just up on the mark, and yeah, it's very easy to ride. The brakes, I think, are really good. Some people have rubbished particularly the front brake, but it doesn't have ABS, so it's an off-road bike. If you're in gravel and you need to slow down, or you put the brake on, you don't want it to lock up, you don't want it to be a twitchy brake to stop with a lot of force, because the front wheel will just go out from under you and you'll end up coming off. So I think for what it's intended for, if you want to stop, you'll stop all right. If you just have to, it's incremental pressure. So the more pressure you put on, the more more quicker it'll stop. But no, they work really well. Back brake's really good in situations where you don't want to use the front brake at all. So the light I haven't really used that much at night, but it seems okay. All the switch gear's pretty simple. You just your kill button and your starter button, your horn, your lights, push your lights in to cancel, your high-low beam and your high beam on here, and that's about it. You can lock your steering. It's just got a flip cap. The chain is fairly easy to maintain. I would probably, I mean, it is a dirt bike, so a certain amount of dirt's going to stick to it. Yeah, gearing seems right. I haven't had any problems with gearing. I just hop along about, it'll cruise it. I generally sit on 80 to 90 k's, but you could bomb along at 100. I think they top out at about 130, 140. And I think I mean, obviously you could get faster dirt bikes, but the problem is it's a compromise. So you can get a lot more performance, but the options are either the bike gets heavier because you have a bigger motor, which means in really difficult terrain you're going to struggle, and if you get stuck in a river or something like that, or in a difficult situation, you're not going to get it out on your own. That's the difference. The only other way you can get more power and less weight is something like a KTM.